Hi, today we're going to learn about how to solve absolute value equations. That means equations that have absolute value signs. But first we start with our bell work. Wow, it's a crazy question. We have 3 times x is 3x. 3 times a positive 7 is positive 21 equals, and we can combine 2x plus x is 3x. And a positive 5 minus 3 is a positive 2. Subtract 3x on both sides of the equal sign, and we get 21 equals 2, which is not true, so this has no solution. Then it says solve the absolute value of z equals 8. Well, all that means is what can we put in here to make this true? Well, obviously we can put an 8 in there. The absolute value of 8 is 8. Absolute value means how far away from 0 is your number. 8 is 8 spaces from 0, but there's another one that's 8 spaces from 0, and that is also negative 8 is 8 spaces from 0. So we could have the absolute value of negative 8, and it equals 8. Our goal today is I can solve absolute value equations. On page 42, we got some notes. First, we're going to walk through the steps, and you would have written them down, write them down in your notebook on page 42, and then we'll talk about, we'll show how they actually are used. So outside, simplify anything outside the absolute value bars. Separate into a positive and negative equation, and you don't need the absolute value bars anymore. And then solve both equations. You'll have 2 equations, so you'll get 2 answers. There are some special cases, such as the absolute value of 0 has one answer, and that's just 0. And the absolute value of x equals a negative number is not going to be possible. So the answer there would be not possible. Okay, so our first step was outside. Get rid of anything outside the absolute value bars. Here's our absolute value bars. This is outside it. I got to get rid of it. The opposite of a minus 7 is plus 7 on both sides of the equal sign. And now I have the absolute value of 4x equals 5 plus 7 is 12. That was the first step, outside. Second step is separate. I'm going to separate these into 2 equations because whatever is inside here, I need it to equal a 12, or I'm okay with this equaling a negative 12 because the absolute value of negative 12 also equals 12. So my 4x, it's okay if that equals 12, and it's also okay if that 4x equals negative 12. That's what it means by separate into a positive, where this answer is positive, and a negative, where the answer is negative. And then the last step was just solve. Divide both sides by 4, and x equals 3. Divide by both sides by 4, and x equals negative 3. Sometimes the 2 numbers are the same, they're just positive or negative. Sometimes the 2 numbers are different. They're not just the positive or negative of each other. So for example, notice how this one, the 7's outside the absolute value. This one, the 7, is inside the absolute value, which means our first step, outside, there's nothing outside the absolute value. We can skip that. And we can go to the second step, which is I need everything in here to either equal a 5, or I need everything in here to equal a negative 5. So 4x minus 7, it needs to equal 5, or 4x minus 7 needs to equal negative 5. And now we just solve. Add 7 to both sides of the equal sign. 4x equals 12, divide by 4, the answer is 3. But here's where it's different. This one, we're going to add 7 to both sides of the equal sign. 4x equals 2. Negative 5 plus 7 is 2. Divide by 4 on both sides, and x equals 1/2. Okay, and what this just means is we could plug in a 3 right here. 4 times 3 is 12. Take away 7 is 5. So I wanted something in here, it could be a 5 or a negative 5. Or I could plug in a 1/2 right here. 4 times 1/2 is 2. 2 minus 7 is negative 5. And the absolute value of negative 5 equals 5, just like I wanted it to be. Okay, on page 43, you'd work with your team to choose 8 of these absolute value equations to solve. If you want to see the answers, open up Canvas, and the notebook in Canvas has the answers. Then your ALEKS homework, and then some absolute value equations. Outside, first we get rid of what's outside the absolute value. And now we have the absolute value of 2x, that's supposed to be an absolute value, of 2x equals 6. And now this 2x, it could equal 6. Or this 2x can equal negative 6. And then divide by 2 on both sides, we get x equals 3 and x equals negative 3. And then over here, get rid of the outside stuff first. The absolute value of y minus 5 equals negative 2. Oh, that's hard to see. Well, remember, we had a special case where if you have the absolute value equals a negative number, that one is not possible. So there's no solution to that one. It's impossible to solve. Okay, that was the introduction to solving equations with absolute values.